welcome everybody to our virtual visit to Darlington Library and the Hive. We're joined here today by Suzy Hill, who is the Library Manager for Darlington Library Services, and for Simon Moore, who's the Digital Manager and looks after the Hive. So I'm going to start by asking Suzy to give us a bit of background, really. Can you tell us about the Hive and what was your thinking behind creating this digital resource?
Yeah, morning everyone, or good afternoon, good evening if you're joining us on the recording later. I took over library services in Darlington right at the start of the pandemic, and just after quite a turbulent time. So there was what with cuts all around the country, it was believed that our library was going to be closed down. We're in this lovely Victorian building. They were going to close our building and pop us into the local leisure centre. There was a lot of public opinion about this, and in the end they decided to keep us in this lovely historic building, and actually we got some investment to restore and refurbish the library. So as part of that, I had two really large-scale consultations from the public. We had a statement of significance done which told us all the history, heritage of the building, and I had loads of time to talk to the staff that I'd been working with, having been here 16 years now. So I had a huge amount of feedback about what people wanted to see in our new library. And one of the things that really came home was that our digital provision was poor, and people wanted us to be much better. They actually used the words, they wanted us to become digital trendsetters. So when I was writing the brief for the room that has become the Hive, that's what I was aspiring to. We wanted to really up our game digitally, and we wanted to engage new audiences. It's part of a whole fresh look at our library service, and the whole library plan's been rewritten, all our systems have been rewritten. We've kind of gone from the bottom up, and we are now an aspirational service. So the Hive is the key part of that. It's about providing STEAM activities for all ages. Yes, children coming into it, but all ages as well, so that people can aspire to learn. And we've got this rich kind of engineering background in Darlington, so a lot of it is a nod to that. We've got a history of doing really well in Darlington with things like that, but how do we inspire our innovators of the future?
So really, like, a really exciting prospect for you, and sort of driven by people in the community saying, no, we love this place and it's important. That must have been a real boost.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it also gave us the confidence to really change that area. So the Hive, that the room which has the Hive in now, used to be an e-library. It was, in my opinion, very dull, very uninspiring. And it actually it kind of had a lot of antisocial behaviour going in that room before we closed for the pandemic. So when we looked at the statement of significance from that room, it is in the 1885 part of the building. However, there wasn't much in there. Unlike the other rooms that I needed to keep, it's got some beautiful beams in there when you see the room. It's got some wood paneling. But other than that, I was allowed to be really, really kind of fresh with it. So when you see it, it's an incredibly vibrant area. The rest of the library is very much in a heritage colour palette, whereas the Hive, I was able to go really, really different, very vibrant, very bright, very colourful.
Just to say to everybody else, please, if you've got any questions or you want to hear anything particular from Suzy, just put your hand up, or we're a small group. You could just chat away or put your questions in the chat if there's anything particular you'd like to ask and you wants to follow up with that. Anybody got any follow-up questions just now? Okay, so you've given us a sort of lovely idea of where you started from and your hopes for it, and then we'll come back later to finding out whether for you those hopes have been realised. Mm-hmm. So where did Simon come? Did you recruited Simon to this?
Yeah, so obviously there was all this feedback saying we needed to become digital trendsetters. There was the library's universal office that told us, how that could be shaped. But I had no digital person in post. So a lot of this was me kind of learning on the hop, even right down to the library management system, learning what we were going to do, how we were going to change, how we're going to improve our systems. So one of the first things I did was look at staffing and put out there for a digital manager, of which Simon came in. we also didn't have, like in most things, the funding can be challenging. So much as I had investment for the building and the refurbishment, I didn't have the funding to fund the Hive. So the Hive was actually paid for through the Libraries Improvement Fund. So we got LIFT funding round 2. And I know round 4's out there now for people. So that might be what people are kind of jumping on the call to look at. But we really wouldn't have got the area we've got and the equipment we've got without that funding.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So Simon, so Suzy brought you in. So you haven't got a great background in working in libraries, I understand. You've got other skills. You worked in the council more generally in different areas. So is that right? You came into the library service kind of new to it.
Yes. Prior to here, I was working in adult education. One of my roles there was I was an IT tutor, so I did teach IT, and it was all peer-based as well. So I was teaching the staff a lot about things like Google Class and that sort of thing. But this, I've never worked in a library before. No, I have delivered sessions in various subjects most of my life, really. So I did sort of, when I found out about what the job entitled, I sort of straight away had lots of little ideas in my head that wouldn't it be good if we could start doing this, or if we can bring these sort of groups in and start, stretching out there to actually sort of say, yeah, come into the library. Because I think that's what Suzy's highlighted, really. It's a digital age that we're living in now, and libraries need to evolve. You have to have a bigger offering in order to get people in and of course to stay afloat. So yes, this was a completely new role for me. But as I say, I had the technical knowledge to actually be able to sort of say, yes, well, I could go and buy this and I could use this myself and have a really great time with it. But then to try and actually get someone else to do it would be a totally different ball game. So maybe put that to one side as my toy. And then actually, what can we actually sort of bring in that we can then get the public who've got no IT experience, or maybe just have nothing at all, to actually sort of start with them and actually have them coming in and getting an enjoyable experience.
Thank you. So how do you're going to show us in a minute, but how do you describe the Hive to people who haven't visited it yet?
Well, it's a bright, vibrant and buzzing place, hence the Hive. We always like to have something going on there. It's a modern space, but it's in keeping. Yes, it's bright and it's loud. It is loud, but it's still sympathetically part of the original Victorian building. But it's a space where there's always something going on, whether it's crafting, whether it's tech, whether it's schools, whether it's a social group. It's somewhere. It's a place to come where you can actually experience things that, particularly in Darlington, you probably won't get the opportunity to do so. Whether, like I say, whether that's a STEAM-based activity or whether it is actually crafting and things like that. So it's a very lively space, a welcoming space that you can that's a proud piece of the library. To be fair, it's somewhere nice for the town to come to.
Fantastic, thank you very much. So you're going to be showing us around in a bit, and I have found the link to your video, so that's good. I'll be sharing that in a minute. So when we go in there, it's going to be noisy. And can you explain to us before you go off what are we going to be seeing when you go in?
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be too noisy.
Okay.
We've got a nice small crafting group.
I was imagining sort of people running around shouting.
No. Yes, no, we don't have school groups in on Tuesday. Essentially, the Hive, the space itself, it's set out to seat around 30 plus people. As different areas, we have kind of like at the back of the room, that's where the majority of the kit is. And we have the kit out. One thing I didn't want at the beginning is to be putting kit away, putting it back out, putting it away, almost like hiding it. It's because it's a thoroughfare. Everyone can see what we've got. So we always have the kit out. We've always got examples of what's going on in there. So that's essentially the back of the room where I'll be stood. And there we've got things like our 3D printers, laser cutters, the virtual reality headsets. They're all out. we've then got like a nice big workbench. It's particularly useful when we have our fabric groups on, because they've got a good space for like cutting cloths and bits like that. But then as you move further down, there's a couple of tables and a big row of benches that goes all the way around the front of the room. That's essentially where we'll seat people. So we've moved the cricket machines, which are our vinyl cutters. They're down there at the moment, along with the heat press, because as I say, they're designing and creating their own t-shirts. Hope kind of ran off just as I was all coming in. And essentially that's where we'll have the schools as well. So we get school class coming in of 30 plus children. They'll sit around all of those tables, either with iPads, laptops, and then that's almost like the teaching area, because at the front of the room we've got a big screen, an interactive board that we can use. We can plug iPads and laptops into. Well, it's touch screen as well, so we can do pretty much what we want on there. But it's almost like a good sort of delivery area at the front of the room. We can teach everyone there, show them what to be doing, and then we sort of move back into the back space to actually put it all into practice. Okay. So I've always stood at the back, showing you what's going on, and yeah, hopefully.
Thank you.
It might be a bit early yet for the t-shirts to be finished. They'll still be designing
And
them.
Mark's got a question, I think.
Yeah, well, a question and more of a general question as well. What you were describing, and I should have said at the start, sounds pretty much similar to the Let's Make rooms we have on offer in Warwickshire. We have 3 Let's Make rooms in 3 of our larger libraries that have things like 3D printers and some of the equipment you described. They're about 8 years old now, which is kind of interesting, because we're at that part now where you think you have to refresh the offer. First of all, you mentioned 30 room for 30 people. I was like, wow, that's huge, because we normally have a maximum of about 10. So if you're doing 30, I'm wondering how what staff involvement do you have in supervising groups like that? Because it's quite a large group as well to do. But also, initially when you set it up and you looked at the people you wanted to attract to use the rooms, did you make a decision that it was going to be sort of school age children? Those were the market you're going to go for? Because I think one of the issues we had was we tried to appeal to everyone. So our offer was very, very wide. We tried to get local business in as well as schools. And I think we struggled with that a little bit. And we've sort of now found that schools are sort of our kids are the ones that we can actually get in and do events. We had big ideas at the start that we could get local business in, and we did loads of outreach work and tried to be everything to everyone. And it didn't really work. Were you more focused when you first set it up that this was the age group we were going to go for, and have sort of gone along with that?
To be fair, no.
Not really.
we wanted it exactly what you wanted, as many people in as possible. We liaised with colleges, sixth form, local businesses as well. We struggle to get people in that are working, because we're open 9 to 5. So that does put quite a big demographic away. The thing about the schools, it wasn't so much actually just having schools in. It was really using the schools a kind of as like a template, a package, to be able to offer them something bespoke and individual. So it was kind of always sort of thought, yes, we were going to bring the schools in whole groups, so whole class in. So within 3 sessions, an entire year group can come through and actually experience something. So that was sort of like, yes, we want to be doing that, but as well as that, we want to be doing things for adults. For instance, 3D printing sessions on a Monday afternoon. Fabric Friends is our Tuesday. Well, we have fabric groups on Tuesday, so that's like a drop-in group. So again, that appeals to, again, I suppose really people that aren't working or have got the days off that can come in. And then Saturdays, we kind of really sort of put that back out again to children. We have 3 sessions on there that not so much just aimed at children, but are aimed at children to come along with parents, carers, grandparents as well. And then we like to get them involved. So we are sort of getting the professional element there. But yeah, it's difficult to try and appeal to everyone. The school sessions do take 8 sessions. We have 8 sessions a week specifically for schools. So we have Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays, which are school days. And then that leaves Tuesdays, Thursdays and Saturdays where we can concentrate on other things. But we have almost like we're still evolving in that sense. And yeah, we've spoken to outreach groups, charities that are coming in. But because we've got that almost like timetable for the week, we can actually say, yes, we can do a session here for you on a Tuesday morning or on a Thursday afternoon. But yeah.
And on a weekend as well, you were saying you do events on the weekend.
Yeah. As I say, it's not, because we have the school children coming in, we actually promote the fact that you can come back on a Saturday because they'll be coming in midweek. And on a Saturday, we'll do 3D printing for them in the morning. Lunchtime, it's a craft session, crafty kids. And then in the afternoon, it's our movie makers, which is stop motion animation. But these are things we run every Saturday. And then obviously, as the schools come and say, oh, by the way, did you know we do this? So it's another way that others can come in. And as I say, we try and encourage grown-ups to stay and get involved with that as well.
Would you have library staff in there on the weekend supervising those activities?
It's the Hive team.
It's the Hive team,
it's
right?
Myself and 2 assistants. So
Yeah.
On the Saturdays there'll be 2 of us. So because we actually have the main reception in the Hive as well, which deals with all the general public coming in for photocopying, wireless printing, booking onto PCs as well. But essentially the room will sort of run with 2 Hive staff. If we're low on the staff, then generally someone from the lending will come in and just sort of oversee like the front of house area. But there's always someone actually in the workspace of the Hive.
Okay, thank you.
I've just while you're talking, I'm just putting sorry, I put the link into the timetable that's on your website, Simon, so everybody can see the kind of the range of things that you've got going on. Okay, thank you. So I've also shared a link to a YouTube link, which is a presentation that Simon's put together, because at this point he's going to go dashing off down the stairs and then rejoin us.
So yes, essentially this is a Hive. Start at the back here. So we come in through the original entrance. So that's all been restored. That's how the archway originally looked. So that was rebuilt into there. And obviously the up ceiling as well. I've got the original vaults up there. As we come in, so we have our main desk just here. We go through the Hive actually into the study. But the Hive itself, as I mentioned, effectively this is like our kind of maker space. We've got the virtual reality headsets, which we keep left out, 3D printing. We've got the laser cutting machines there. Those ones we actually chose because they're desktop ones, so they don't require huge filtration systems or contracts. Obviously, this is a space here where people use, as I mentioned, for dressmaking. I'm currently actually making kites because we're doing a kite making session later on in the week. And then down the bottom, we've got effectively our teaching space. You can see the board or the screen right on the back. Everyone at the moment is designing their t-shirts using Cricut Makerspace. We've got the Cricut machines just out there. They can start cutting the vinyls, and then they'll get popped onto the heat press onto one of their t-shirts.
Are you saying a Cricut machine?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Maybe
it's pronounced. Well, you'd think it would say Cricut, but it's actually Cricut. Effectively, have a blade in here which cuts the vinyl out once it's designed, and then that's then peeled off.
Can you tip the camera down a little bit because we can see? That's it, smashing.
Yeah, so these are the Cricut Maker 3. We have 2 of those, and then we have the heat press just there. There's also the Cricut mug press. Where you can simply create your infusible inks designs, and they get heat pressed onto. I should have actually transferred. I'm going to turn it around. Be much easier. There we go. Yeah, so the Cricut mug press as well. That's really popular. With Cricut, you can also do things like your watercolor cards, and they all come out of there. It's quite diverse. It can be a little bit frustrating, Cricut machine, but once you get to know it, it works well. 3D printers. Now we've got 3 of those purely because when we do get schools coming in, we show them how to make things like name badges in Tinkercad. Tinkercad's free software that we use. Very intuitive, basic, simple, but it's a good starting place for 3D design. But we'll show them how to use that. And bear in mind, there's going to be 30 children there. So we have 3 machines. And then what we do while they're doing their designs, they'll work in pairs on the laptops. This is actually Cricut just here. And then we can print off sort of 4 or 5 at a time. So generally, we'll start printing the name badges off on the morning session. And then once the next group come in later morning or in the afternoon, they'll be ready and they take them back to the school. The virtual reality headsets. This was something when I actually sort of came across this, I thought, well, this is really good. These are educational based, the class VR, which you should have seen on the video. The content on this, it's all curriculum based. It's created by teachers, retired teachers. They send it into Avantis Education. We put it onto a portal for us. And what we do with the VR headsets or the VR sessions is we will give the school the options. Do you want to pick something like geography, history, science? Because there's a huge amount of content, but actually taking bits and pieces of content from the portal and putting it into a 45 to 60-minute session is quite difficult. So we actually tailor the session. So it might be mountain formation as a geography, science, or history. They'll learn about London in the 1600s, which covers plague, Guy Fawkes, Great Fire of London, things like that. So it just allows you to put more content in, but it's all controlled. And again, we have 32 headsets, so every pupil can be experiencing it at the same time. And that's, again, really how I went with this. I didn't want to have like one thing of this and one thing of that and one thing of that, because that kind of limits you to how big your group sessions can be. So, for instance, like the laser cutters, we've got 2 of them because we can get a lot more content done. Laser cutter things, they simply get given. We just use wood because it doesn't produce any toxic emissions. But effectively, they'll create little boxes, pencil pots, little name badges, things like this, things that can be done within a session. And again, we're showing them how these are designed, how to design it, and then they create the design, and then we effectively get it going. Laptops are mentioned. Laptops, particularly council laptops, can be a right pain. So we use something called the lap cabbie, which keeps, we've got 32 laptops in there, but they all keep charging. So literally all we're doing each time is we're just pulling them out, putting them out, and they come on straight away, and just allows us to be very efficient when we're switching between a 3D print session, followed by an animation session, followed by a virtual reality session. Okay. So yes, so this is the group on go at the moment.
And do they have a tutor with them, or is it a member of your team, or is it?
Yes, that's Liz, who's just behind that gentleman in the black top. She's one of my assistants. So what I found is, let me come in front. We put out for 2 additional assistants because it became quite clear that I couldn't do this 6 days a week, only work 5. It was too much, because as well as that, we've also got the desk as well that so people are coming to. So Suzy managed to get some additional funding for some staff, and with the staff, I was doing everything. So I was doing all the fabric, the crafting, the digital stuff, but I wanted the staff to sort of kind of diversify into certain areas. So Liz and Chloe, they both have their own skill sets. So it means that we can put a lot more together. And effectively, there's always someone here that can actually run any of the groups, any of the sessions. But yes, that was one of the things. We wanted something to happen every morning, every afternoon, 6 days a week. And of course, we managed to get some staff in order to do that.
And what did you say? You've got the desk as well. Is that what you?
Yeah. The reception desk, is that what you meant?
Yeah. Does that? I mean, are people coming in and asking you all kinds of other questions?
Yeah.
How is that part of your? Is that part of the Hive, or is it a slightly separate?
No, this is part of the Hive. So as I say, the main door's here. This whole room, this is the Hive. But this is now the main reception for the building. So this is where people will come to have queries. If it's more book related, so if we're talking about book reservations or one turning back, so we do have a pod which is in the main lending library. So there are staff down there as well. But generally, this is where people come when they've got queries. We get a lot of people wanting to wireless print, so printing their boarding labels and passes and things going back to vintage, that sort of thing. But they'll come here. So yes, we generally need to have that desk manned. We also get a lot of people coming in for technical queries. They've got something on the phone that they can't get off, or they've locked themselves out of their account, or they can't remember the password for their email. Not that we'd know that, but we can basically assist them in getting there. But it's become quite a bit of a technical hub as well. People generally come here and said, "Oh, I've heard that I can sort of do this here and do that there." We've got a selfie station just over there, which is a little bit of fun. People can come in, but as you say, we have got a booth just down the bottom. There is seating area, so people do actually come in here and do a bit of work as well when they can't, or they can pop through straight to the study.
And it also looks a bit like an exhibition space that you're showing some of the things that people have made.
We do, yeah. Well, this is we have like our own sellable things, so like the tote bags, scrunches, key rings, 3D printed key rings. We put all of these things on that we do for like crafting. So these are the craft session paper crafts, plushies that come on. Again, paper crafts. These are the peg dolls, which are part of the 200th bicentenary for Stockton Darlington Railway. I'll just introduce you to Marty while you're here. So this is Marty the robot. Marty, we have 15 of those little robots, and we teach schools how to use Scratch. And Marty links with that. The company that makes Marty the robot has their own interface that's been provided by Scratch. So it actually looks identical when you're using Scratch yourself. But we teach coding to schools from reception. So these are 5-year-old children that will come in and they'll start coding. And they're not really going to do that in their school curriculum until they're in about year 3. So again, it's just giving them a little bit of a kickstart with coding. And similarly with 3D printing, Tinkercad, generally we'll start these at year 2. Now, they're not going to be using computer-aided design or 3D printing until they get to secondary school. So again, this is just something that they're learning now at the library. But yes, as you can see, the layout of it just allows us to display what we're doing. So even just walking through, we've obviously got the timeline of Darlington up there, things that we
just tell everybody a little bit about that, because they might not know about it, the timeline of Darlington.
Yes, so we've got the idea of this is for people to come in and just be inspired to take the next step, whether it's in engineering, science, or something like that. And a lot's happened in Darlington. For instance, we've got locomotion number 1 up there, Wesso Engineering, which does some very famous bridges, the Fowler plough, which was an event which revolutionised agriculture. And we've got obviously Liz Millions up there, Cummins is up there. Wembley Arch, which was built, again, that was Wesso Engineering. So it's really just for people to come in and have a look and say, oh, yes, interesting. Also, what goes on in here, which is what we want people to do, is we want to ask, oh, what do you do in here? And that's when we can say, oh, well, by the way, we do 3D printing sessions, we can do some coding, things like that. We had a company that actually popped in some 3D models. So you can, as you can see, there's some QR codes underneath locomotion number 1 and the Fowler plough. What this does is it uses augmented reality. You scan that and it actually puts a life-size model of locomotion number 1 actually in front of you. So you can take a selfie stood next to it. Just going into the study, we also used our funding. Don't know if you can see it there, just right in the corner. Might be a bit difficult. I don't want to go because there's too many people in there, but we have a hublet station. If you've heard of hublets, these essentially are Android devices, and you can use your library card to take one of the hublets out. You get 2 hours, and they're set up for different profiles, so children can use them, and they can sort of get YouTube for kids. They can put Scratch on, and there's obviously adult profiles. They've got lots of reading bits and pieces as well. But yeah, essentially the whole space is for people to come in and see. Just make that's our award at the edge award and something. And yeah, shortlisted there. It's digital inclusion and me. But yeah, the whole idea is people. It was the original main entrance as we go out into the foyer. People come in, walk. Hogwarts. This was built by our looked after through care children. They came in and each week they did bit by bit, so they built that. There's also a lighting system going out, which is incredibly technical. I've not got around to putting that in. But effectively, come in the original entrance, come into the space, and as I say, walking down, we've got the main reception here. We've got lots of things going on, and everyone stops. Everyone says, "Oh, look at that! Look at that! Oh, look at this!" And it's just promoting what's going on in here. It's promoting that this is the library. This is what you do, and most people says, I had no idea you did this. I had no idea this was going on. So yeah.
Fab. Thank you. Natasha's asking what brand your laser is.
The laser cutters.
Is that what you meant, Natasha? She'll say yes or no in a minute.
These are Extal.
There's some stuff now. They were slightly tricky to get. You do have to shop around for a bit, because obviously we have to put everything through the council finance system, and there's a lot of companies that they won't deal with. Now there's a UK certified supplier for these. These are about £900 each, one-off payments, but you have a laser and a blade. It's a 10-watt laser, so it cuts. We use it's called basswood. It's a bit like plywood, but it's only 3mm, and it cuts through those quite easily. You can use it to engrave, so it will engrave metal as well. But yeah, because of the price, we were able to get 2 of them. I did see another library; they had one machine which weighed about 1/4 of a ton, and it was literally a floor base on it. I said, well, don't want to spend that much, but it was a good price. But if you search X-Tool laser cutters, there are some UK suppliers for those.
I think I'm just going to check. Has anybody else got any specific questions about while Simon's in the space in the Hive? Anybody want to see or anything or get anything clarified? I think everybody's happy, Simon.
Are they happy?
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you. Are you gonna come back upstairs?
I'll come back upstairs now. Yeah.
Bash him. Thank you.
All right.
That's great. That's really interesting seeing everybody working away in there. Suzy, while Simon's dashing up the 4 flights of stairs, I've just got a couple of questions for you about sort of thinking about the success of it all, really, and whether there's anything you could point to specifically about your structure, the setup, anything that's helped to make this, or kind of why do you think this has been such a big success?
I think we certainly benefited from our journey, really. The fact that I could have all that consultation, the fact that I could write my brief of what I wanted that space to be when it was empty. I did look around lots of libraries in the Northeast to see what they were doing, which we all do. We all like, and that's what this is about. We all like to share ideas. We're a really good network of people that help each other out. So I visited a few other libraries, and what was really clear is that you need the people in there. It's no good it would be no good me going to the library's improvement fund, getting some money, buying some equipment, if there's no one there that's going to take an interest in it, because you need that passion to drive something forward. So when I put the advert out for Simon's role, a lot of it was that I want you to investigate. I want you to play with the equipment. I want you to be interested in it. If the person doesn't have an interest, it's not going to go anywhere. And it was the same when we put out for the 2 other members of staff that support Simon, and a lot of feedback came back to me from other libraries that said they need time. You know, these bits of equipment need maintenance, they need looking after. I think the first thing I did when Simon came was give him a 3D printer that hadn't been built, and I said, I've bought you one, it hasn't been built, you need to build it so that you can then understand how to maintain it, look after it, and all that kind of thing. So what's made it successful, I think, is it's the drive from the start, it's the brief from the start, that I was hopefully really clear, and I was able to be clear because of that consultation. I knew what I wanted it to be, so I could be really clear with the brief. Therefore, all our staff, not just those working in the Hive, they know what the Hive's about, they know what the team in there are doing, so they can relay that to customers in other parts of the building or in other libraries or when we're out and about. We've stuck with the drive and what we want to do all the way through. And then the people recruited into the roles have got their different interests. So Simon's got a really good, he's overseeing everything. He's got a really good knowledge on everything, and he's a very good natural kind of teacher. And then the 2 members of staff we've got in there, one of them has got a real love for fabrics, dressmaking. She's a qualified seamstress, so her area with the crafts, so with the fabrics, we've got those digital embroidery machines, sewing machines, overlocker. She's took that and run with it, and therefore she's got a lot of people coming in just for those sessions. The other member of staff we've got is really, really crafty, and she's been very passionate about our virtual reality as well. So within that team, you've got a skill set, and we've been very clear as to who who leads on what. If we've got schooling that's going to be doing the coding, that'll be to certain members of staff. If we've got ones that are doing the VR, that'll be to certain members of staff. So they've got the knowledge and the skills and the confidence to really deliver quality workshops. Thank
you. Mark, you have a question or a comment?
Yeah, kind of a question and a comment, because I was really interested in what Suzy said about from the get-go and the investment that you had. So just from my own mind, from our experience, Simon and the other staff you have, are they all full-time?
So yeah, Simon's full-time permanent. My other two, I was able to get 18-month fixed term, and we're still working on where we go with that. Staffing's really key, and that did come through from that work with other libraries before we started. And it's what, when I've got other libraries visiting me now, I do say people need the time to develop their skills. And you've seen in our area there, the Hive is that one big room, but we've got two areas to it. We've got this public area where people can dwell, they can photocopy, they can print, they can ask questions, they can engage with that selfie station and things. And then we've got the workspace area. So when there is a workshop or an event or something taking place in that half of the room, it's a very busy space. It feels busy when you're walking through, even to the members of the public just getting the printing. But I think that really helps libraries be seen differently, not to be that kind of sterile space. And I think you might have seen when Simon was kind of looking into the hublets, that study area now, that's always got, 16, 18 people sat in that room, which we didn't really have before. And I think part of that is because the atmosphere in the whole building's risen. It just feels a little bit more psychologically accessible to people, and I think people are more keen to dwell because you've got these other activities and things happening at the same time.
I think from our point of view in the lessons sort of learnt, we did have a let's make rooms which is, and we had a let's make coordinator who was in place full time, and they had an apprentice as well.
Yeah.
But that was only funded for a certain amount of time, and that funding is now gone. So we no longer have that person solely with the Let's Make rooms. So we have this kind of weird thing about who's actually running events. We have our library ICT officers who are kind of the caretakers of the rooms maybe, and help support activities and stuff, but it's still not their full remit. And I think it's something that we really need to look at again, because I think you need someone in space like you have, to concentrate on these rooms and make them a success. So yeah, hearing you talk about it just reinforces me the fact that we need people in those positions, doing that kind of work.
I empathise with you. I think that this is a challenge we have in libraries all over, because we're looking at these universal offers. We are more than just books, but sometimes it's difficult to get that message through to your stakeholders and your funders, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's really helpful. Thank you.
Sort of going on from that, because you're obviously saying that's a really key point. What are your ambitions? I don't know whether it's a question to Suzy or to Simon. Ambitions for the space and your community, and what do you want to be doing next? Simon, what do you want to start?
Not sure if he's there. Do you want me to go for the big one, and then he can come in?
Yeah.
As the person that gives the brief, maybe he's got the big overview, and Simon can come in on what he's going to do about it. Yes. So for us, we've got some clear targets. If we wanted to increase our visitor numbers, we wanted to increase our users attendees at events, activities, workshops. We've seen that already. We've seen an increase in our visitor numbers. We've seen an increase in the educational interactions, and an increase in the number of participants at events. So we see that time on time. I also really wanted to win an award, and we did. So it was something kind of important that we were recognised as being good, because we're a tiny little library here, but we've got big ambitions. So those were the big things. Simon, I can see you back there now. Do you want to come in on the how are you going to do that?
Yeah. So I've got 3 screens. I couldn't actually get from where my mouse was to unmute myself. We are, as I say, looking at groups, coming organisations. We're particularly keen on things like men's mental health groups, getting them to use the space so we can always have like workshop sessions in here as well. We've invested quite a bit in coding, things like Raspberry Pis and Python. So it'd be nice to actually sort of start running those sort of sessions. But it's really doing what we're doing at the moment with the schools, but we would like to increase that. Predominantly, it is younger children. I think you saw in the video that we do have some sort of like key stage 4 in there, but we would like really to start bringing older pupils in and also students as well. College students are using the study to actually do their work, but we've got so much equipment they could use. There's quite a big textiles offering at the colleges, so we have had them in the past coming in when we have a fabric groups on, but to actually come in and use this space as a group, you know, in a proper session, that's really hopefully where we're going to be going as well. It's always changing, so we might have like for instance, a refugee association might be coming in because they've got some staffing to monitor it, but then it's then gone. So we can't rely on sort of in just individual groups or organisations, because everything's changing. And again, even in the schools, the biggest problem we find there is transport for them. There are some that can walk to the library, but transport costs for schools have just skyrocketed since COVID. So even though we're not making a profit for them coming here, when they factor in all of these transport visits to the library, then yes, and it's sort of pushing them away a bit. So finding ways to actually get them in. We did discuss going to schools, taking equipment to schools, which would work, but you're then losing the numbers coming into the library. So it's sort of like balancing it off, really.
So go on, Mark, if you've got your question. And then...
He might just have answered it, actually, because I was going to say about outreach work. We've got kits called Let's Make Light, which some of our smaller libraries have got, where, you know, little Ozobots and little bits of coding and stuff, and we can do those, take some of the equipment out of the Let's Make rooms into the other libraries. We've also taken that equipment out to schools, as you say, but also things to like brownies and beavers and guides and stuff, and done events in the evenings with them, and that's been quite popular. As you say, you don't get the footfall through the rooms, but because of that, sometimes then we have made contacts and they've come in to use the equipment afterwards as well. And we've also had them come in to do their technology badges and stuff like that once we've been out and reached them as well. So taking the equipment out, sometimes we do library events during the summer, you know, the summer reading challenge and other type stuff, and as part of that we've been out to our local water parks and other stuff as well, and we've taken little 3D pens and Ozobots, and, you know, sometimes it's a bit of carnage because stuff just gets everywhere, but, you know, it's a good little taster session for people to do, and it has been successful in the past.
Thank you. We've just got 3 minutes left, so I was going to ask Suzy and Simon to have a think about, is there anything you would like to say, tell people that you haven't had a chance to yet? And just if anybody has any last comments or questions, and then well, that's it. So Suzy or Simon, is there anything you're itching to say that you haven't had a chance to say?
I think it's not muted, no. Yeah, it's the big thing is about the skill set of what you're going to be putting in, because it's what we found is particularly things like 3D printing. I can do it. I can type out the process of going 1 to 10, things like that, but it's all the problem solving, the troubleshooting when things don't work. So you do have to think about the person that's doing this. It's not just delivering, it's almost having a big overview of how it goes wrong. Coding, for instance, I love teaching coding, but I can literally on the board say, right, do this, do that, do that, do that, and then 5 hands are up, it's not working. It's having that background technical knowledge, really. So it's not just delivering, but it's actually figuring out where it's going wrong. But yeah, it is scary. You can have too much going on, and the more things you've got, the more work you're creating for yourself, whereas we've sort of narrowed it down to half a dozen things that we can then almost like not experts, but we can sort of like concentrate and upskill on each day. But if you've got the stuff, keep it out, let everyone see it, and just use it when we don't have a session in. I'm playing on it. I'm making things that then go on display, and but it's constantly, keeping yourself going.
Thank you. Thank you. Suzy, did you have anything that you wanted to say in the last?
Not really, but just to let people know if they are looking at their own kind of grant applications for things, or they are looking at their own improvements. Very happy to kind of speak to people outside of this. And we've got on our website, you can see a virtual tour of our building, both buildings. So you can literally, if it's the Hive you're interested in, you can kind of plop yourself in there on this virtual tour and have a really good look around. And we've also got some drone footage that you can see on the website. So if you are interested in looking into the Hive or other areas a little bit more, you can do that via our website.
Or if you want to visit.
Or visit. We've had lots of people coming to visit, and we like visits because we know that in a few years' time we'll be coming back and visiting you guys and seeing what you've got that we can then have a look at.
Lovely. Thank you very much.